Yesterday we did Chesed and Ahava. Today we'll do Gvura. And again, each midah you have on two ways, right? L'kula alma, the second word is the ikir. Because the second word is the primary midah, and the first word is the qualifier of the primary midah. But the two understandings of it is, in the first oifen, Gevura is a maiseh, and the chesed shebegvura, and gvura shebegvura, and Sfiras Haomer is a midah. And in the second oifen, Gevura is a midah, and chesed shebegvura, and gvura shebegvura, and Sfiras Haomer is a midah within a midah. And one of the nafkaminas is that in the first model, what you see is the ikir, is the maiseh, and the midah is more hidden. And in the second oifen, what you see is the tafel, is the secondary thing, and the ikir midah is hidden behind it, right? So what would be an act of midas hagavura? What would be an act of midas hagvura? In the first model, an act of midas hagvura would be an act of order, an act of division, and an act of exactitude, doing something in a way that separates, organizes, and is precise, right? What would be Gvura? Gvura would mean, if I need to give you a half a pound of bread, I'm going to give you a half a pound of bread, and not more than half a pound of bread. I mean, to give you a very simple physical example, right? And the same is true in all aspects of life. What would be Gvura? Gvura would mean, for example, when you're doing a mitzvah, there's an exactness, there's a preciseness to how the mitzvah is done. That's what Gvura does. It cuts. Again, people always conjure up, people always associate Gvura with bad. It's not true. Gvura is not bad, it's just different. Gvura is precise. Gvura is exact. It's not more than is necessary, and it's not less than is necessary. So sometimes, because Gevura is not more, so it looks like it's cheap. But sometimes, because Gevura is not less, it looks like he's generous. Because Gevura, when Gevura gives, he gives more than Chesed. But the Alam Tacheshbon. So if you're going to think of Gevura as a maise, as an act, think of Gevura as a precise maise, an action that has precision. Okay? So if you wanted to use an example in our lives, let's say, for example, an avoid example in our lives, the avoid example of Gevura would mean to manage my time. Let's just say that that's the maise. Ois gerechnet mit der Zeit, So people talk to you, you talk to them. But when you finish talking, you do something else. People ask you something, you give them what you need, and you move on to something else. You're not available because there's a cheshbon, there's an exactness, there's a preciseness in your life, right? No. What's the motivation of that midas hagvura? What's the motivation of midas hagvura? And I guess you could say the same thing about Yom Tov mitzvahs. Gvura means that you do in Yom Tov mitzvahs exactly. Exactly, You have to eat a shear of matzah, you're not allowed to eat less, but you shouldn't eat more. You understand? You're going to daven, you're going to put on your tefillin, you're going to daven. There's a certain amount of time that it's allotted for. That time you're going to do nothing but daven, but outside that time you're not going to daven. Because there's a cheshbon. We're talking about Gevura as a maise. The maise of Gevura is exactness. So the maise of Gevura, let's say, klapi, another person means I'm going to give you, but I'm going to give you with a measure, with an exactness. Right? I'm going to help you, but mit a cheshbon. But let's talk about me. Midas Gevura relates to me. I manage my time. So when my alarm rings, I get out of bed. I don't hit snooze. And I have time allotted for this avodah, and for that avodah, and for the other avodah. I don't give more time, but less than that avodah. What's my motivation? Chesed Shebegvura means because I manage my time. In other words, the Gevura is the management of my time. The motivation for managing my time is I love. What do I love? I love the Eibishter. I love life. I love the productivity of being exact. I love the idea that everything in my life is cheshbon. Right? Some people don't like cheshbonis. Some people have a very big problem with being exact. But chesed shebegvura means where my life practically is lived with an exactitude, and the motivation for that exactitude is a love, ahava. A love of the Eibishter, a love of what I'm doing. So the midah is chesed, the maise is gevura. So what you see is the gevura. You see the act of being very precise, very oisgerechnet, very managed. What would be Gvura Shebegvura? So again, the act is living your life with a preciseness, I think the best translation of the word Gvura is exactitude. Exactitude. This is a word, I don't know if it exists in the English dictionary, but I once came across that Winston Churchill, who was an incredible statesman, but he was also a brilliant writer and speaker, when he would make mistakes, he didn't want to say there's something wrong. Not allowed to say there's something wrong, so he would use the term inexactitudes. He would say bold-faced lies to the whole of England, and he says, there was an apparent inexactitude. Mr. Politicians, diplomats. So inexactitude is a great word. It's a great word, inexactitude. It's so diplomatically useful, You want to admit that you're wrong without admitting anything. It's a great use of a word. Most people don't know what it means. So the opposite of inexactitude is exactitude. I don't even know if the word exists in the language, but it's a great word. Gvura means exactitude. Exact, precise. It's not good or bad, it's reality. Gvura shebegvura means that the midah, which motivates my exactitude, is fear. I'm afraid of the Eibishter. I'm afraid of losing control of my life. I have a fear of waste, right? I mean, let's be avoidic. I have a fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gvura, my fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, results in a practical living on a level of Gvura, of an exact life. Yeah, that's Gvura Shebegvura. No? So what will be Tiferes Shebegvura? What will be Tiferes Shebegvura? Tiferes Shebegvura means that the exactness in my life comes from Midas HaTiferes. And again, Midas HaTiferes, as I explained to you yesterday, has two tziyurim. The first tziyur of Midas HaTiferes is Rachmanis. When I think about my neshama, and I think where my neshama came from, Al Rebbe says Negeres HaTshuva. Yeah, I think where my Perek Zayin, I think where my neshama came from, I think where my neshama is. And I think what a Rachmanis it is in my neshama, that I wasted to shtus and va'avolim, so that motivates that I should have gevura in my life, have exactness, preciseness in my life, because of the Rachmanis that I have on my neshama. Alternatively, yeah, I have a neshama, and I have a very strong relationship with the Eibishter. And the midah that elicits is a simcha. It's joy. It's the happiness of connection to Hashem. I told you last night that he gets a tshuva perik tes. Chelik Aleph of Tanya perik tes, the Alter Rebbe says that the midah for Tiferes is simcha. Now how can it be both simcha and rachmanis? It's very simple. When you're far, it's rachmanis. When you're close, it's simcha. The tzadashov shebehem is, as I told you yesterday, Tiferes means actually feeling what the other person feels. When you think that achmanis it is on your neshama, so you have gevura. Or you think the opportunity your neshama has to serve the Eibishter in this world, to make a didalei is barach b'tachteinim and connect itself to atzmos, as opposed to only giluim and ha'ara. So the simcha of the opportunity of the neshama motivates the pu'ula of gevura. You get it? You understand? So what you're seeing is the exactness in this person's life. The motivation for that exactness is midas hatiferes, either the rachmanis or the simcha shebadav. No, what's netzach shebegvura? Netzach shebegvura means that the pu'ula is exactness, and the midah is a fight. The fight to stay exact, or the fight to assert that exactness. That's what netzach is. Netzach is an aggressive midah. It's an emotion that fights. It engages with an enemy and fights to see through what is what's necessary, what is primary. That's inyan hagvura. So in midas, netzach shebegvura, you're either fighting with yourself. Yetzer hara wants you to be lazy. Yetzer hara wants you to be weak. Yetzer hara wants to be inefficient, and you're fighting with Yetzer hara to have midas hagvura, or you're fighting with somebody else that other person's world should follow order, should follow preciseness, should follow gura. So what you're seeing is the assertion of midas hagvura, the emotion which motivates that midas hagvura is midas hanetzach, and midas ha'id is akshanis, right? Submission, akshanis. This is how it has to be. So again, what's midas ha'id? It's very simple. That hayes, that the right thing to do is to be exact and precise. And maybe I'm not in the mood. Maybe I'm not so happy about it. Maybe I'm not so in love with it. Maybe I'm not even afraid of it. So there's an akshanis. There's a stubbornness not to allow whatever winds are going to try and take me away from my midas hagavura, which means my exactness and my avedas Hashem, and I'm going to sustain that exactness with my akshanis, with my stubbornness. That's hoy shebegvura. No? So what's yesod shebegvura? I'm going through it quickly, but I think it's clear. Yeah? What's yesod shebegvura? Yesod shebegvura means I have a midah of exactness. And I draw strength from the midah of exactness itself. Like I explained to you before, Yesod is iskashus. Yesod means I have to do something. And in this case, what I have to do is a gvura, to be exact and precise in how I do what I need to do in my life. And there are obstacles. But I don't fight with the obstacles. I don't stand up to the obstacles. To me, the obstacles don't exist. All I have is a connection to that mission. And the connection of the midah is a regesh. It's a feeling of attachedness to my purpose. So the enemies are there, and the enemies fight. But instead of me fighting back against the enemies, I'm involved in connecting to what I need to accomplish, and I do it. So if I want to live a life that's based on principle, that's based on righteousness, that's based on exactitude, and the world around me is full of waste, full of inefficiency, I can draw strength from the exactitude itself. There's a regesh, there's an emotion of connecting to the mission, to the purpose. And I also, in effect, as a byproduct, push aside the obstacles and the other things that stand in my way, but I'm not engaging with them. I'm engaging only with the midas hagavur. Yeah? Nu. So what's malchus shebegvura? Again, you can say it in two ways. You can either say malchus shebegvura means the pu'ula of gevura, the act of being precise and exact, or the reimamus of gevura. That in order to be precise in my life, I have to be emotionally uplifted, removed. And I guess if you wanted to be psychological about it, the way you would explain malchus shebegvura is to say that in order to be exact in my life, I can't be too emotional. Because emotion is going to interfere with that exactness. So I have an emotion of distancing myself from emotion. The feeling of being above. In other words, there's a world. And in the world there's a lot of waste. Tons of waste. And waste, when you waste, you don't just waste things, you waste yourself. And you don't want to waste yourself. You want to be exact, you want to be precise, you want to be correct. That's what midas hagvura is. Malchus shebegvura is the feeling of being higher than everybody else. Higher than the environment, higher than the place of waste, so that the midah is exact. And again, you can even say, higher from my own passions that would distract me from being able to be exact in my Avodas Hashem. So this is model A of midas hagvura, where you're translating gevura as an act. And chesed shebegvura, and gvura shebegvura, and tiferes shebegvura, until malchus shebegvura is the midah which motivates the act. What you will see is the gevura, the preciseness, forgive me for using a bad word, the yakishness, as it were, and the midah is hidden behind it. Okay? Okay, we'll move on to the second model. In the second model, gevura is a regesh, it's an emotion. And if you go in the second oifen, that the gevura is a midah, then the gevura is actually hidden. You don't see the midas hagavura. You see the symptom of midas hagvura. Because of midas hagvura, there's a chesed. Because of midas hagvura, there's a gvura. Because of midas teferes, there's a midas hagvura, there's a rachmim. So you're actually seeing in the second model the chitzonius, because the pnimius is hidden, right? So what's the emotion of gevura? What's the emotion of gevura? I guess the emotion of gevura, at least let's put it this way, the way I'm going to explain to you the emotion of gevura is to say this. When you contrast chesed and gevura, gevura relative to chesed is emes relative to chesed. No, it says in Pasuk, it's brought in Medrash, it's in the Chassidus, chesed ve'emes nefgoshu, kindness and truth met. Gevura compared to chesed is emes. What that means practically is when you see somebody suffering, what do you want to do? You want the suffering to go away. You want the suffering to go away. And as a psychologist, you would say, and probably with some measure of correctness, the reason you want the suffering to go away because that person's suffering makes you uncomfortable. It makes you suffer. It exposes to your own vulnerabilities, your own fears, or whatever the case may be. So by getting rid of that other person's suffering or put a ban on another person's suffering, you're actually putting a ban on your own heart. In other words, chesed is solving problems. But chesed is solving problems as the problems relate to me. Remember what I tell you yesterday? Chesed ozol kula yemin. Every emotion has love. The beginning of every emotional attachment to a human being, one person, another person, is called chesed, connection. So when I see a problem, that problem is a problem because it's connection to me. And chesed is not solving the problem. Chesed is solving the problem in as much as that problem has a connection to me. So when I give the poor man $1, I'm giving the poor man $1 so that I should feel better, or that the problem should not exist in relationship with me. Midas HaGavura says, if I'm going to give that person $1, it's going to be because that person deserves the $1, not because I need to give them $1 so that I should feel more comfortable. In other words, Midas HaGavura is not only interested in the problem as it relates to me. Midas HaGavura is interested in the problem as the problem is. So if Midas HaChesed means I feel your pain, and I relate to your pain because I relate to pain myself, Midas HaGvura means I feel your pain because I feel your pain. You're not going to say I feel your pain as you feel it, because that's Tiferes. But you're going to say I feel your pain based on what you are. And again, the same simple analogies. If a person is in a bad situation because they made stupid decisions, they were reckless, they were irresponsible, they expected the world to bail them out, Midas HaGvura is not going to be particularly kind to such a person. But on the other hand, if you don't only see a problem and relate to the problem based on how the problem relates to you, which is what chesed is, but rather you see a problem and you emotionally feel that problem based on what that problem is, yeah? It's a rachmanis on that person. And when I say in this case rachmanis, I'm not talking about teferes, because teferes means I actually feel what you're feeling. Midas HaGvura means I feel a situation based on the reality of your situation. Right? There's a difference than the person who gives the guy in the street corner $1 or buys him a sandwich. Sandwiches cost more than $1. But $1 can be used for something which will keep that person on the street corner. And the sandwich is likely to take that person off the street, or more likely to take that person off the street corner. So Midas HaGvura is an emotion of judgment. But an emotion of judgment doesn't mean an emotion of being negative, finding reasons not to give. It's an emotion that says, what's really going on here? I don't want to react to how I feel about your situation. I want to feel your situation for what your situation is. So that's why, and you learn in Chassidus about Midas HaGvura, they always tell you that there's two types of Gvuras. I was thinking last night that there's one type of Chesed. I think I saw Beferish Chassidus a place. There's two kinds of Gvuras. There's a Sugya Vayechi. We learned it this year in the night syllabus. We talked about Neshamis. We had the Maimer Vayigash in Samach Vav, which talks about Yiditzei Rechaliyah, that Dafka in this world, Yumagala Gvuras. So it's based on a Maimer in Vayechi, Tafresh and Beis, a very, very long Maimer, the Rebbe Shabbos, like 20 pages, which is based on a long Maimer, which have in the Teref and Semach Tzedek, and you also have a printed from the Mittler Rebbe, a long Maimer Vayechi. It's the same Maimer. It's the Sugya of Gvuras. And if I'm not mistaken, in that Maimer, he explains two Gvuras. Gvuras of Ishtalshlus and Gvuras of Atika Kadisha. Gvura could mean, you're in a situation. I'm going to feel, not just how I feel about that situation, but I'm going to feel what that situation is. And therefore, if I feel that that situation is wasteful, I'm going to give you nothing. Or I'm going to help in no way. But if I feel that that situation is worthwhile, I'm going to give everything. Because I'm not giving for your problems, relationship with me. I am giving for what that situation is.
The example that you gave for Chesed, the way that you're helping the person based on
how you feel about their situation.
That's not itself a Gvura?
Huh?
That itself is not a Gvura?
No.
Because once it doesn't have anything to do with you,
then right. That's correct. But it's not Midas HaGvura, it's no Midah. It's not I'm using Gvura, I'm not feeling. Remember, we're talking about feelings. Mid means an emotion. If I don't feel you at all, that's not Midas HaGvura. That's midalessness. Chesed means I feel your situation and I react to your situation based on how I feel about your situation. Gvura means I feel your situation, but I'm trying to feel your situation as your situation is. Not my reaction to it, but what's going on. Midas HaRachum means I feel what you're actually feeling, which is a deeper midah, which is a neshama midah. It's not a psychological thing, it's a spiritual thing. But if I don't feel you at all, Yeah? People are more concerned with tzar balechayim when you kill a cat than when you kill an insect. Why? Because you see a cat suffering, and he suffers the way a human being suffers. He responds to pain in the same way. You don't know the cues of suffering of an insect, so you don't think it hurts. Of course it hurts. But you don't relate to it. That's chesed. And Gvura says, whether I relate to this suffering, or Darwin said, this is suffering. It's tzar balechayim. You understand?
So you're not really helping the other person, you're helping yourself.
You could say that. You are helping the other person, because the other person doesn't care why you gave him the dollar. But the degree of connection to the other person is limited to you. I am as connected to you as I allow. And Gevura is, I am as connected to you as my judgment sees you. It's much deeper. It's a deeper midah. So now, if a person is in a state of midas hagvura means a person who comes into a world and really cares. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Midas hagvura as an emotion is the emotion of concern. The emotion, I think if you wanted to say it in other words, it's a serious emotion. Chesed is an easy emotion. Gvura is a serious emotion. What's going on? Ich will fühlen, what is going on here? That's what Gvura wants to feel what's going on. And because Gvura wants to feel what's going on, the response is going to reflect not how I feel about the situation, but how the situation makes me feel. In other words, not how the situation touches me, but how the situation reveals itself to be. And sometimes the consequence of Gvura is that I'm going to give nothing, and sometimes the consequence of Gvura is that I'm going to give more. So what would be Chesed Shebegvura? What would be Chesed Shebegvura? I get into a situation, and I feel out a situation for what the situation is, and I give. I'm kind. I have ahava, right? I respond with love to, through having felt the mayimid umatzev that the other person is in, my reaction is the midah of ahava and chesed. So what you're going to see is love. You're not going to see gvura. You're going to see the love. You're going to see the generosity. But this is a very deep love, because this is not a love based on how I feel about you. This is a love that's based on a feeling of the situation. Ba'asher hu sham. Again, I want to make this difference between Gvura and Tiferes. Tiferes means I feel your feeling. Gvura means I've spent the time and effort to feel out not just what I see, what's behind what I see. The emes of the Maimed Matzav. It's still me judging you, right? Tiferes is not me judging you. Tiferes is me becoming you. Me judging you, but me judging you based on what's really happening by you as opposed to how it makes me feel. That's midas hagvura. So Chesed Shebegvura means that my emotion of engaging in your situation resulted in ahava. What's Gvura Shebegvura? Gvura Shebegvura means I emotionally invested myself to feel out your ma'amad u'matzev, and my reaction is to criticize. Is a regesh of judgment. Is a regesh of, no, what kind of business is this? What's patas dein leben? Why are you wasting your life? And I guess you could say that even klapi yourself. Right? How would you say it klapi yourself? Midas hagavura is the emotion that judges the situation. When it comes to ourselves, b'chlal, there is always the illness, the deficiency, the fear of Adam Korev Eitzel Atzmei. Our biggest problem with ourselves that we like ourselves so much. Midas Hagvura is overcoming the Adam Korev Eitzel Atzmei to honestly assess where I'm holding and how I'm doing. You know, not to be a shuffle, not to say I'm no good, you know how it goes. Anybody who makes a judgment of himself and says I'm perfect or I'm nothing is a liar. There's no such thing as 0, no such thing as 10. It's someplace in between. Midas Hagvura is trying to judge myself with a certain measure of integrity, and Gvura Shebegvura means that because I emotionally invested myself in me to feel out where I'm truly holding, I'm judging myself. I'm demanding of myself more because I can give more. That's midas gvura shebegvura. So what you see is the secondary midah. You see the judgment, which is based. You see the midah of demanding excellence, which is based on feeling out the situation b'asher usham. So what would be tiferes shebegvura? Tiferes shebegvura means I emotionally invested myself in a reality, in a situation, in a circumstance, and I felt it out, and I appreciate the situation as it is mitanemes. And it either makes me feel rachamim or it makes me feel simcha. Rachamim means I feel a situation and it's a rachmanis. Right? That the person is in a very bad situation and it's not his fault. It's a rachmanis. Or I feel joy, I feel emes, and I delight in the situation that person is in. Or I delight in the situation that I am in. Baruch Hashem. When I judge myself, mitanemes, I see that I'm in a maimed matzav tev. That's the regesh. So what you're going to see is going to be either rachmanis, you're going to feel bad, you're going to feel sad, or joy. But the rachmanis and the joy are going to be a symptom of a gvura. I emotionally put myself into a situation to feel that situation more than just my initial reaction to it. But what the situation is in truth, and as a consequence, there's going to be rachamim, or there's going to be simcha. And as you pointed out last night correctly, naturally, because of the midah of Sfiras Haomer, there's going to be a maisa. But the maisa is going to be a third step. Since I have rachmanis based on my gevura, or I have simcha by gevura, my maisa b'peil is going to reflect that. But the two words gevura and gevura, or Sfiras and gevura, are both rikshim, both emotional. We're good? Yeah? So it will be netzach shebegvura. Netzach will be the same thing. Gevura means I emotionally invest myself in your situation. You meet a person, so you can give him, and you can emotionally involve yourself in that situation to feel out, you know how life works. You know how life works. I'll tell you how life works. By and large, 9 people out of 10, the less you know about them, the better they look to you. It's reality. You know, you look at strangers, everyone seems to have a good life except for me. And in reality, all the difference is that your own life, you know, their lives, you don't know. So the more you get to know them, the more you start to realize, you know, as I get older, I started to realize that we're all a bunch of losers. The world is held together by spit and paper in God's hand. That the civilization stays together, that the government keeps on running. That the people are so pathetic. Everybody in his own life is such a small person, but it holds together because the Eibishter is mashgiach b'hashgacha pratis and keeps it together. But this is what happens in relationships. When you get to know a person, you say, whoa, azamishagas, azadrekap, it never finishes. But that's what we do. We get involved in other people's lives, we discover their weaknesses, and we help them, and they help us. This is what the human family is. It's what Lubavitch is, what the Rebbe is. Lubavitch is ahava. So netzach shebe gvura would be that my emotionally putting myself into your life, to feel your life what it is mitanemes. Yeah? Translates into amidas hanetzach. A netzach means a readiness to fight. I am prepared to emotionally fight. In other words, I feel an aggression towards you, an aggression towards something else, an aggression towards an obstacle, based on my emotional assessment that comes to Midas HaGevura. Midas HaGevura, like I said to you before, relative to Midas HaChesed is like emes. I want to know what I want to feel. Not I want to know. To know is easy. I want to feel the situation, Ba'asher U'Sham. Yeah, I want to feel the situation. A kid comes to yeshiva, yeah, and I'm a genius at putting my foot in my mouth. I just have such bad luck. There's no such thing as luck, but I use the word anyway, yeah. You don't know that child's background. You don't know, and no one tells you. A person came to me years with such huge tightness to me. You know, I had such a hard life. How come you didn't help me? I said, I didn't know. Am I a prophet? You should have known. How was I supposed to know? Your mother came to PTA, didn't say a word. Ich darf wissen, I'm supposed to be a prophet. Tightness, yeah? And the truth is he's right. I should have known. How am I supposed to find out? You put yourself with another person. Emotionally, you feel out what's going on with that person. The midas hanetzach is that based on my feeling of emes, in other words, based on my feeling of how I'm flushing out what the situation is, metanemes, there's an aggression. Aggression means a willingness to fight. So again, it's a midah on top of a midah. And what are you going to see? You're going to see the aggressiveness. You're going to see the emotion of readiness to fight. But the source of that emotion is gvura. That I'm involved with another person, or involved with another situation, or involved with myself. On a midah that's closer to emes, I'm looking for what the situation is, rather than looking to make the situation go away. It relates to me, which is what's called chesed. So netzach sheben gvura means that based on that feeling of that situation, I have an emotion of fighting for it, or fighting against it, or fighting with it, or fighting on its behalf, and so on. Yeah? What's Hayit Shebegvura? Same thing. Gvura means I'm emotionally feeling you in a way that's not just me reacting to you, but feeling out your situation as it is. And Hayit Shebegvura means that based on that feeling of your situation, I invoke a regesh of akshonis, of stubbornness, of insistence, that I'm going to see it through. So I feel a situation, and I feel a situation, the situation is, right? And my reaction is to remedy it, is to fix it, in one way or another. The emotional tool that I choose to use to remedy the situation is a stubbornness, is a hardness. Nobody is going to stop me from doing this. Right? Not I'm going to fight with anybody who stops me. Nobody is going to stop me from seeing this through. So what would be Yesod Shebegvura? Gvura means feeling a situation not just superficially where I react to the situation, but Gvura would mean I'm feeling the situation based on the reality of the situation. Yesod Shebegvura means that because I feel the situation, based on the situation, I have a connection to the situation. That situation is mine. It's my nesek. It's my business. Somebody else's life becomes my concern. So
that sounds like Tiferes almost.
Huh?
It almost sounds like Tiferes, what you just said before. So
Tiferes and Yesod are always going to be similar, because they're both Kava and Tzoy.
But what's the difference?
The difference is that Midas HaTiferes is how I feel about the situation. Midas HaYesod is how I feel about fixing the situation. Netzach, Chod, and Yesod are not three more emotions. They're a different class of emotions. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes are emotions that react to situations. Netzach, Chod, and Yesod are emotions that motivate solving problems. They're connected to Asiyah.
Right, so they're more of an...
So Midas HaYesod is because my Midas HaEmes, which we're calling Gvura, makes me feel that your Maimed Umatziv is what it is, not because of your own laziness, going failure, but because of whatever it is. So I have an emotional connection to that situation in terms of wanting to solve it. Okay? And then, of course, Midas HaMalchus, again, the same thing. You'd say it in two ways. The first way is that Malchus means a Maaseh. So then you would say that, hey, yes, that I feel your situation. And I feel your situation in the kind of way that I'm more deeply involved in that situation. And because I'm more deeply involved in that situation, I see the emes, the integrity of the situation. Yeah? So I'm going to do something to fix it. That's Midas HaMalchus. Or alternatively, it's a Reimamus. That because I feel the situation with an emes, I remove myself from it emotionally. But not I remove myself from it emotionally that I don't care about it. I remove myself from it emotionally that I can remedy it from a distance, from a reimus, from a place of upliftedness, from a place of exaltedness. And of course, just before I finish, I just want to say that classically, we talk about Midas Ahava, Chesed. It's Ahava to the Eibishter. We talk about Midas Gvura, it's Yira of and from the Eibishter. It's the same thing. There's different kinds of Yira and different kinds of Ahava. But based on the form that I'm presenting, Ahava means I love the Eibush because of my Eibishter's relationship with me. And Gvura means I fear the Eibush, not because he's going to hit me or because he's going to punch me in the nose, but Gvura means I fear the Eibush because I have a sense of his integrity. In other words, Gvura Yira is a deeper midah in our relationship with the Eibishter than Ahava is, at least on some levels. So the Yira would be, Gvura would be, I have a deeper feeling of the Eibishter inside of me. In other words, I don't think Hashem is my body. I think the Eibishter is awesome. Not scary, but awesome. And therefore there's a regesh of Midas HaGvura. And because of that, there's a Chesed Shebegvura, means I love him. There's a Gvura Shebegvura, I fear him. There's a Tiferes Shebegvura, I rejoice in him. There's a Netzach Shebegvura, I'm going to fight to remain attached to him. There's a Hayit Shebegvura, I'm going to be stubborn in my attachments to him. Yesod Shebegvura means that I'm going to draw strength from my feeling of his integrity itself. And there's a Malchus Shebegvura, I'm going to do something for him, or I'm going to raise myself above the emotion of fearing him so that I can serve him. Okay? So today is Thursday, so from Sunday morning we'll do the Tiferes. Okay?
Can you reiterate what Givora you said was criticism? You said, which is I don't know. Can you just re-say it again?
In the second model,
Yeah, the second one.
criticism is already an action. Gvura is what it means, the emotion of being critical, the feeling of being critical, that comes from investing myself and your mind with the master.
Right. So it's the way is first. Okay. So the feeling, the feeling is I feel out what the situation is, and then based off that, I criticize this. I criticize the situation almost.
Emotion.
I'm critical to the way I act.